Hello, hello. This is Matt, and this is the Carmen, Ohio Buckeye. Today we're going to discuss game one, and I'm sure 1-0. Everybody's celebrating tremendously all over Buckeye Nation. Okay, not exactly. Um, Saturday's game wasn't exactly what anybody expected, and first game and everything, but I just wanted to go over the game, and hopefully all my friends, all my Buckeye friends, will interact and tell me what they thought of the game. The first thing I want to say is Ohio State won, so let's move on and let's hope that the winning continues. But obviously, there were some things that Buckeye fans are concerned about. And if you have a pulse and if you've watched Buckeye games, you better be concerned. That's natural. But there's something that a lot of people aren't really talking about because, like, the quarterback situation, our wide receivers, running backs, and all that, that's the topic of discussion. Everybody's talking about that. Everybody's talking about our offensive line. But something happened and transpired in this game that we haven't seen since 2019. And how about the defense, guys? Now, before you sit here and tell me in the comments section, oh, Indiana is one of the worst offenses, blah 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 blah. Well, I want to ask you something. What did Arkansas State do against us offensively last year? They had a huge, massive play down the field, if you don't recall. Actually, they had several big plays against us. And guess what? Indiana tried to do the same thing because it's worked against us since 2020. That same exact play has worked against us almost every single time since 2020. And Indiana tried to do it, and we shut it down. Indiana had 153 total yards the entire game. This isn't 153 yards rushing. This isn't 153 yards passing. This is 153 yards rushing and passing. Total. That was their total yardage production the entire game. And these past few seasons, our defense has allowed more than that with some of the worst offenses in the country. So you can say what you want, and sure, our defense could prove not to be all that it's built to be in a few weeks. And we could be discussing a tragic meltdown against Notre Dame and Buckeye fans furious through the roof. Okay, that could happen still. So I'm not saying that everything's fixed. Okay, but it sure appeared to be. And how about Sonny Styles running sideline to sideline? How many times have we seen those sideline passes go for 15, 20, maybe even more yards? Sonny Styles ran from sideline to sideline and shut that down. Sonny Styles had a game, and he also had more tackles for loss than anybody. Sure, we would like to see more quarterback pressures. Sure, we would like to see more sacks in the backfield. I get it. I get it. But Indiana barely even passed the ball. Okay? So we'll have to wait and see. Western Kentucky is not a good team by any fashion, but they'll at least show us a little bit more passing. So we'll be able to take something away. But the truth of the fact remains 153 yards in any game, no matter who you're playing, is good. And I was very impressed with our defense. And not only did Sonny Styles have a game, Igbinosun made a few mistakes, but he also did very well too. And we wouldn't have even got to see that if they would have called that targeting call on him, if that would have stood, which he didn't deserve that because it wasn't a crown of the helmet or a defensive receiver. So I'm glad Igbinosun, we got to see a little bit more of him. Burke, the few passes that were thrown his way, he challenged the receiver. He did what he was supposed to, and we want to see a lot of that. We weren't giving tremendously huge cushions so that they could impose their will on us because our defensive strategy back in 2020, 2021 under Kerry Coombs was we let them catch the ball, then we tackle them. So it was like they were dictating to us. We didn't do that. We dictated to them. we shut them down, and they also ran triple option. Now, I don't know what Ohio State knew Indiana was going to do. Most people were pretty shocked to see Indiana run a triple option. Whether they're good at it or not, we shut it down. So we did what we were supposed to. So kudos to our defense. And we did get, I believe it was Caden Curry. Was it Caden Curry that got credited with the sack? We did get one sack, mind you. There was another play that looked like a sack, but I guess they counted it as a loss of yardage on a quarterback run. So, defense. Okay. So, why do I discuss defense? Okay. Yeah, our offense looked clunky. Um, and fans are used to seeing 40 points per game these past 3 years. But what is the one thing everybody was shouting for throughout those games? Where's the defense? We need more defense. Our defense is terrible. We lose games because of defense. Okay, so we got defense. We got it in this game. We should be happy because if this continues, it gives our offense time to grow. Okay? And before you throw darts at me like, "Oh, you're making excuses, you're being a homer." I I lived through the 2002 Buckeye season. That's my alma mater. And I went to those games. I watched a lot of them live at home. And I'm surprised I still have hair after those games because you wanted to pull your hair out. But what did we win with? Defense. We had Kenny Peterson. We had a beast up front. We had defense. We had Matt Wilhelm. And down in history, Matt Wilhelm was great. Like, everybody will remember him. We had C. Grant. Like, most people were overlooking him back in 2000, 2001. C. Grant played amazing, and he had the play of the game against Miami that sealed it for us. We had Will Allen. I mean, we had lots of guys all over the field. Of course, Dustin Fox was at first giving up a lot of big plays, but he played the game of his life in the championship that year. Nobody picked us. We didn't have a flashy offense. Miami had the flashy offense, but because we came in with solid defense, we won. You can win games with defense, even in 2023. And Georgia last year, what were they winning with? Of course, our defense made their offense look spectacular. Same with TCU. But mind you, when we were up by 18 points against Georgia, what if we had a good defense? Could it have been different? I don't know. So let's pay attention to the defense a little bit here. Let's be excited because they had a pulse. They were challenging throws. They were making plays. If Indiana did make a play on us, we tackled them. How many times did we miss tackles these past few years? We tackled them. We should be excited about that. It has a pulse. Our defense looks like it's improved. Time will tell if that's true. We had a breakdown at the end of the year, I'll admit. So we have to take it game by game. But if the defense keeps playing like this, it gives our offense time to grow. Now, I do want to discuss next the offensive line. Everybody's saying how terrible it played. I don't think that, hindsight is 2020. And if you just watched the game on Saturday, you came away feeling like this offensive line is absolutely horrible. Okay, I get it. You feel that way. You saw a lot of players in the face of the quarterback, players in the face of the running back. But let's take it side by side because our center, our right tackle, our right guard played actually pretty well. And if you look at it play by play, they made a few mistakes. But the right side of our offensive line is workable. Okay? So then let's look at the left side of our line. Sure, Simmons missed some blocks. He whiffed. Okay? But it's not like every play he was just being pushed backwards. He did get pushed backwards some. But the mistakes he made by just completely missing his blocks is a much different problem than he's just not strong enough to block the players in front of you. That's a much different problem. That means Justin Fry can actually coach him and say, you need to go here and catch this block. So what does Simmons need to work on? He needs to look in front of him and say, this guy's blitzing. He needs to recognize the defense, and he needs to communicate that with the center. On top of that, if he misses it, the center or Kyle McCord needs to communicate to him what's happening too. And that would make a huge difference and go a long way in improving our offensive line. I don't feel like our offensive line is terrible like people are saying. This is a top athlete offensive line. But I also want to mention that if Simmons isn't working out, if there are concerns that he's just not the guy, like I said on Saturday when I talked about our depth chart, we have a guy named Luke Montgomery. He is a true freshman. It's a risk, but he impressed everybody all offseason. So if we have to shuffle the line around, we will. And Ryan Day's done it. Justin Fry's been there. He knows exactly what it takes to win games with the offensive line. But I wouldn't be throwing darts and saying it's over, because he missed some blocks. Now, what was his name? Carter for was his name Carter? I forget his name. I'm sorry. I think his number was 41 for the defense of Indiana. How in the world did all these really good schools miss this guy? He's good. Now, he came blitzing through the line several times unblocked. Now, he wasn't on the line, which means our men were taking their assignments, but they missed this blitz. That's something else that can be taught. Ohio State can learn how to pick up these blitzes. So it's like, yeah, they made mistakes. Yeah, I have concerns about the offensive line too, but these are things that can be coached. And we do have a good coaching staff that can teach our line to do this. We made similar mistakes last year. Now, the Big Ten is a little bit different than a lot of other conferences, whereas the Big Ten is willing to put 8 men in the box and put their corners on an island, which is pretty foolish when you have Emeka Egbuka, Marvin Harrison Jr., Carnell Tate, and Julian Fleming. These guys could bring them out of that and soften it up. We didn't do that on Saturday. I get it. But in the future, we can bring them out of this. We did it last year. We struggled with this same kind of defense last year. At the end of the season, we did learn from it. Of course, Michigan was a whole different animal. So every week we need to prepare for that. Michigan didn't exactly do that. They did something way different on defense. So we'll tackle that animal when we get there. But the 8-9 men in the box, we're going to see that every week. Wisconsin will do this. I forget if we play Iowa. I need to relook at my schedule. I went over that the other day. Wisconsin will do that. Okay, so that's a whole different animal. Maybe Notre Dame will do that. Notre Dame tends to like to do what it does. They believe in themselves. Marcus Freeman has taken note, though. I mean, he's a smart guy. He used to play defense for us, after all. So, as far as the offensive line goes, I get it. You're panicking, but don't hit the panic button yet. We have good coaching staff. We can learn from our mistakes. And Simmons, don't read the media. You're probably not even going to ever listen to this, so I don't know why I'm talking to him. But Simmons, don't read the media. Learn from your mistakes and pick up the blocks and look for the blitzes coming in, because those were basic defensive plays that everybody's going to use. So you're going to keep seeing it until you pick it up. So Justin Fry, I'm sure he notices. He's a brilliant coaching genius as far as offensive line goes. He was with us back in 2014. He's seen it all. So he'll be able to coach that up. So don't give up on our offensive line yet. But if the coaching doesn't work, we do have other options to try. So it's not like last year when we had no depth at offensive line. Of course, Enoch is sitting on the sidelines. He has experience, so we can bring him in. And Luke Montgomery did actually play in our big man front offensive play calls when we were trying to convert short plays. So Luke Montgomery is still an option. But let's not give up yet. Now I wanted to talk about our offensive production. It feels much worse than it is, okay? Kyle McCord had 239 yards. Now, one issue that I see with our offense, it seems that Kyle McCord was instantly going to the backup receivers, and that would be Cade Stover. That would be Julian Fleming, who is our third wide receiver. So I don't know. He either felt too nervous to try for the big play, which means the coach needs to, not make him feel like he's looking over his back. Or maybe he was just told in this game, we're staying vanilla. Check down if you have to. We'll teach you how to see, everything in the future. Look at this defense, learn from it. Then the next game, we're going to work on the bigger plays. And that's okay. Because if we're going to stay vanilla in the first game, I imagine there's no way we're going to stay vanilla when we're playing Notre Dame at the end of this month. So, yes, before you hit the panic button, understand that we still had 239 yards passing. And the other thing to take away from the game is Kyle McCord looked much better in the second half than he did the first half. What does that mean? It means improvement. If we're seeing improvement each game, then we're headed the right direction. So that's what you want to see from a young quarterback. You want to see improvement. Sure, it's not the improvement you or I wanted, but it's improvement. Okay? So that means these next 2 weeks, he can work on things. Yeah, I mean, face it, Youngstown State is not going to be a problem for him. So he can work on those big plays to Marvin Harrison Jr. and Mecca Egbuka. And hopefully we'll see more of Tate as well. But, hey, the connection with him and Fleming looked pretty good. The connection with him and Cade Stover looked pretty good. And it got better throughout the game. So, yeah, do I sound like the Homer fan right now? Maybe I do. But I'm just trying to tell you that we have an offensive genius as head coach. Now, it looks like our defense is headed in the right direction. As long as we have that defense, it gives our offense time to grow. So, we have a long way to go, guys. But look, the sky's not falling at Ohio State. The media can make it sound that way all they want. But we have depth. We have a lot of wide receivers. We have an offensive line that has backups that can come in and play. And they're not where they need to be, but we have the players. We just need the coaching. And that's a much better position than a lot of teams are in throughout the country. I'll bet you right now TCU wishes that they had the depth that we have, because even though they lost, their coaching could bring them to a better place. But they don't have it. TCU lost it after last season. I'll bet you Purdue wishes they had what we have. After their loss, their coaching could get it in Florida. I'll bet you they wish they had the bodies at the offensive line we have, because their coaches could coach them to the right spot. But they don't. We do. So the sky's not falling at Ohio State at this point. Yeah, Michigan is the better team right now. And, they just kind of sleepwalked through the game against Eastern Carolina. We know that. Michigan's better than they played against East Carolina. Okay? But we have the guys. We just need the coaching. So the sky's not falling at Ohio State. Don't give up. Yeah, our running game has a long way to go. That starts with our offensive line. That means our offensive line can be coached to get us there. We have the players. We just need the coaching. So I have faith in Ryan Day. I have faith in Justin Fry. I have faith in Brian Hartline that our team will get there. But as long as our defense is playing like this, we'll have time to get there. So that's all I'm saying. And lastly, I just want to talk about the players of the game. First off, Kyle McCord, you survived your first game. You made one big mistake. You're watching film. Let's not give up on Kyle McCord yet. He didn't have a great game, but he didn't have a terrible game. It was serviceable and it was coachable. So good job, Kyle McCord. You got 200 plus yards passing. You can build on that. Cade Stover, 98 yards. Okay. 98 yards from our tight end. A huge play. Good job, Cade Stover. We knew what you had already. So we're excited. Julian Fleming, I did kind of call you out before the first game. So I just have to say, shout out to Julian Fleming. He made some plays too. Good job. Steel Chambers had 6 tackles. He had some tackles for loss in there as well, included in those 6 tackles. Good job, Steel Chambers. And of course, Sonny Styles, he looked good as well. Shout out to him. Okay. Now, I also want to shout out Mayan Williams. While statistically he didn't get much, he averaged about 4 yards per carry. He got 2 touchdowns. Mayan Williams, I know he's been battling some injuries throughout his career. Good job, Mayan Williams. It was a running back by committee. Okay. We may like to have the guy, but it was running back by committee on Saturday. We'll see what we've got. I was very impressed with Chip Trainum. 8 carries, 57 yards, 7.1 average. If he is our best guy, he'll earn playing time. We'll see. So, but anyways, Buckeye fans, share with me your perception. But I see a team that is coachable. I see a team that has potential. And we haven't seen it yet, but it's there. And especially when he gets on the same page with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka. It's going to happen. Like, we didn't see it on Saturday, but hitting the panic button when we have those guys on our team, I think it's a bit, it's a bit of an overreaction. So let's see what we've got. Obviously, these next 2 games, we can't take much from it, but it's serviceable. So Buckeye fans, don't hit the panic button no matter what the media says. We have a place to go. And I do think that we'll see a much better offense here in the near future. All right, guys. Well, that's really all I wanted to talk about today. I'll preview the next game later this week, and then I'll give another reaction next week, probably next Monday. But, the Buckeyes are 1-0. At least celebrate that. We got our first week of football. It was an exciting week. We had some upsets. We had some excitement. Football's here, guys. So let's see what happens. Let's enjoy it because it's only one time of the year that we get it. So let's not freak out. Let's not let the season pass us by without enjoying it. Okay? So anyways, thanks for tuning in. This is Carmen Buckeye, and I will see you next time.